Hello and welcome. I'm Pratap Singh. You're joining us on NewsX. The Supreme Court has accepted a new definition of the Aravalli Hills and ranges based on the elevation, which has sparked a new controversy and protests in Haryana as well as Rajasthan. Activists say the changed definition could prove detrimental and have serious environmental and ecological consequences. The Aravalli is one of India's oldest mountain ranges and spread across Rajasthan, Haryana, Delhi and Gujarat. It plays a crucial role regarding the region's environmental balance and has been called the green lungs of Delhi-NCR. The new definition describes an Aravalli Hill as any landfall in designated Aravalli districts with an elevation of 100 meters or more above its local relief. And an Aravalli range is defined as a collection of two or more such hills within 500 meters of each other. Critics argue that the new definition has left much of the lower ridges and small hills outside the protection, which are ecologically significant. What could be the long-term consequences of this decision, especially on the people living in North India, is the big question. Joining us live to discuss this story further is Ashwini Dubey, AOR Supreme Court. Anil Sood, the environmentalist, is also joining us live. Gautam Mukherjee, senior journalist, also joins the broadcast. Let me make a start with you first, Ashwini. What has led the Supreme Court to come out with this new definition all of a sudden? Mr. Dubey, can you hear me? All right, I think we're having some connection issues with him. Anil Sood, let me quickly rope you in if you're through with us. Anil Sood, as an environmentalist, how upset are you with this order, or do you believe it is a fair assessment in the interests of moving forward?
Uday, let me be very candid about it. Supreme Court could not have accepted the definition proposed by FSI because FSI scope was restricted only to the forest cover and tree canopy. It cannot assess a morphological part of it, ridge part of it. Unfortunately, reliance on 2010 definition, that too 14 years old definition, while Supreme Court itself had rather castigated that 31 hills have disappeared. So this is totally, to my mind, not acceptable. That why Supreme Court has accepted the definition when the Supreme Court itself has ordered for complete survey of the area. So this was just shocking, is the least word I must use.
Absolutely. Gautam Mukherjee, let me rope you in here as well. Gautam Mukherjee, what do you make of the outrage that is building up in Haryana and Rajasthan to this order by the Supreme Court? Environmentalists, activists and other citizens up in arms?
Well, Uday, there's been a great deal of encroachment over the years. You only have to go to the ridge areas in Gurgaon to see how much has been built up. And it's not recent, it's been happening over the years. And so I think this is an attempt to regularize that which has already been built up. And, it's not very often that you have them more than 300-400 feet high from the baseline. Now, the baseline itself is, I think, undefined. So this will certainly have an impact, environmental impact, and not a good one. We already are suffering from not enough open areas, cutting down trees. The wildlife in the area, hares, nilgai, this sort of thing has almost disappeared. And this is only going to make it worse. Because if you're going to allow the lower slopes to be urbanized, then what is left on top is not going to survive very long either. So I don't think it's a good move. I think it hasn't been thought through. It is a matter of lobbies operating, and I think the protest is entirely justified.
Okay, let me get in Ashwini Dubey. I believe he's through with us now. Ashwini, what led the Supreme Court to suddenly change the definition of the Aravallis? What led to this new order being passed by the Apex Court? I think we're having some terrible connections, it seems, with Mr. Dubey today. Let's try and rectify that. But Anil Sood, let me get you in here. Anil Sood, practically speaking, what would be your demand then from the apex court? Do you believe a relook at this order is in order? What would be your demand at this point? Because now with this new definition, what all will change on ground? What do you see happening?
Uday, you can write off entire Shivalik range and you can write off entire Dhauladar range once this order is implemented, once this definition is accepted. All the states, northern states, will face serious consequences, leave alone wildlife. Human life also will be in danger. Rains will happen somewhere in Pakistan, not in India. So it is a virtually doom which is looming large on entire northern states, and it will not only impact northern states but central India also. Water table, you name it, and impact is there. So the first and foremost issue is that this order must be recalled or must be reviewed, because very recently Supreme Court has stated that just before retiring, why judges are passing serious orders. So this is one among those orders which needs to be reviewed as early as possible, because this is going to play havoc on entire area environmentally, be it water, be it air, be it biodiversity, be it green lungs of the area. Over to you.
Gautam Mukherjee, let me rope you in here. Also, you know, the fear now among citizens is that the mining lobby could profit from all of this. Anyways, we are seeing a very fragile ecology in our country. We've seen the kind of devastation this year alone, of course in previous years, but if we talk about this year alone in the mountain ranges, particularly in Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, also in Jammu and Kashmir during the monsoon and post-monsoon season. The fragile ecology, of course, again, could be a jeopardy in Rajasthan and Haryana. And perhaps the mining lobby, do you believe, could profit from all of this?
Well, the mining lobby has been active for years. They use dynamite to break up the rocks. They quarry it. There are great big, if you like, canyons formed because of how much has been already mined. From time to time, when the authorities start, raising the heat level, they stop. And then when it goes down again, they start again. So definitely the mining lobby is part and parcel of this. These mountains, or if you like, hillocks, go all the way. It's like a backbone from north to south. And if you don't worry about the ecology, tomorrow you will pay the price.
However, you know, the government has come out with a clarification on mining, Mr. Sood, and you know they have said that the bans in the areas already spoken about will apply. There will be zones defined. New leases will not be granted ad hoc. What do you make of this clarification? Does it assuage your fears or not? Not quite.
Nothing. See, earlier also, illegal mining was not permitted. It was not permitted in eco-sensitive zone. It was not permitted in areas in close proximity to wildlife sanctuaries. But it has happened. And every time the boundaries are redrawn. Why we are redrawing boundaries today? Again, Sariska Tiger Reserve. Why there is a human and animal conflict happening very often in entire Rajasthan? Be it Jaipur, be it Jodhpur, be it Udaipur, you name the city and it has got wildlife conflict. Why? Again, if these 31 hills, you go from Delhi to Jaipur, none of the hills are above 100 meters. What will happen to them? Why Supreme Court said in this very order that we do not want to castigate officers? Why? Are they special species? Or they are from Mars, or there is something else, as it is feared that mining mafia, which of course is the root cause for all these concessions. I call it, these are concessions given to mining mafia. Over to you.
Yes, Gautam, now what can be a recourse of concerned citizens? How do you believe they should, go forward? Do you believe they should try and petition the government to come out with with a sort of ordinance on this? Would you hope that the Supreme Court reconsiders looking at the outrage? What would be the best hope scenario for the concerned citizens, or do you believe it looks pretty difficult that this will be overturned?
Well, I certainly think an appeal is in order to the Supreme Court. It is the Supreme Court. And if that does not work, then an appeal to the government of India and Parliament, because these things ignored today will cause havoc that will, last for generations and affect the ecology of the country in a bad way. There is plenty of land to build upon. You don't have to go up these hillocks. You should leave them alone. We need them as part of the topography. And, there are 100 reasons to say that they should be left alone. At the same time, they have been encroached. There are buildings and farms and schools and resorts already all over the Aravallis. And, what are you going to do? That's been there again over the last 20 years. They've been built up and left alone. They haven't been pulled down. And one or two are sometimes when there is a conflict between owners and so on, then that's brought to the highlight. Otherwise, they're pretty much left alone. They're operating. So you've done enough damage as is. So how much more is required? And you're using dynamite. It's not, hand mining or anything which is gentle on the ecology. It's quite a strange order, if you ask me. Uday.
Yes, Anil Sood, what is your course forward for environmentalists, for activists, for concerned citizens? Do you believe an appeal is likely to be filed? Do you see this? Do you see petitions to the government being moved? What is going to be your recourse going forward?
To move review application before Honorable Supreme Court of India, because legally review is permissible, number one, as concerned citizens. Number two, second step also, I have already suggested to few villages in Rajasthan. I was in Bobas yesterday, so I was discussing this particular issue. Those villages are really worried about this judgment, and everyone says we'll file representations before government of India through district collector, and two-pronged strategy has to be adopted. And in addition, if politicians can move the subject in the parliament, that will be the icing on the cake. Over to you.
I believe Ashwini Dubey is once again back with us. Let me attempt once again to go to him. Ashwini Dubey, if you can finally hear me now. I was trying to ask you earlier as well on what has led the Supreme Court to suddenly come out with this new definition. What prompted this order, which has resulted in in protest and outrage?
The order, if implemented, will be having severe negative effects on the environment and public health, not only in the places which are closer to the Aravalli Hills, but the entire northwest India. And Delhi-NCR region will face the serious consequences. The new definition will be having the far-reaching impact, because the Aravalli range is not just a mountain for Rajasthan. It is a protective shield to the Delhi-NCR and other connected regions. So there is a need to reconsider this issue. In number of cases, Honorable Supreme Court, when any judgment was passed, and the matter, then the effect and consequences was brought to the notice of the Honorable Supreme Court. Supreme Court has always reconsidered those issues. So I think the review is one of the best options so far as the legally reviewing that judgment is concerned. Second, the politicians, because when after the new definition, if any permissions is applied, then the respective state governments must ensure that the permissions are not given based on the new report and the new judgment. Number three, the parliamentarians raised this issue in the parliament, and if Supreme Court is not considering, there has to be a law considering that it will affect the flora, fauna, and also the entire region. And therefore, there is a need to review it, or there is a need to stop it, so the serious consequences can be avoided. See, the Aravalli chain affect the environment and ecological balance, because if you will vanish it, it will definitely affect it. So it's a wall which is preventing the Thar desert from expanding, and as the experts, as the various environmental activists and citizens are raising this concern is very genuine to protect from the deadly heat waves from the west and preventing the Thar desert from encroaching upon the fertile plains of eastern Rajasthan, Delhi, Uttar Pradesh. And this is removing a decision to remove hills below 100 meters in height from mining restriction in the Aravalli mountain range is an assault on India's environment and future of generations to come. And with all conviction, as a lawyer of Supreme Court, as a student of law, I would say that this decision is anti-environment, destructive, and as a result of the government's misguided policies that are pushing natural resources towards a crisis. So I think that this judgment should be reviewed by Honorable Supreme Court, and if not being reviewed, then the politicians must raise this issue in the parliament so that the country at large should start debate that where are we heading to? And then the parliament should take a decision into it. And third, the respective state governments, whenever the applications are coming for the permissions, they should not give permission because they too have a right not to implement that. Over to you, Uday.
Now, the government, of course, claims, though, that they've clarified that the fears will be taken care of, that mining zones will not be increased, that existing rules will continue to apply and prohibitions, whatnot. What do you make of those clarifications, Ashwini? Do those assuage your fears, or do you believe a written legislation or ordinance is the need of the hour?
The written legislation, of course, is the need of the hour, and it should be protected not for today. Even in future also, the environmental impact study report should be tabled whenever any case is filed with respect to the Aravalli Hills, or any permissions are sought from the state governments. And all the stakeholders of the state governments, including Government of India and Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, they must, before taking into decision, even in future, even after 100 years, they must read that report. That it's a dangerous step. It would be a dangerous step towards legalizing this kind of minings, and it will destroy the environment. And destruction of Aravalli Hills will directly and severely impact water resources, greenery, groundwater levels, and public health. And therefore, and you see, Uday, we are in Delhi and we are facing severe pollution. AQI has crossed thousands in the machine which is being used to measure. The instrument which is being used to measure the AQI is already showing red marks, which we don't have another measure method and mechanism to read that what is the ground situation, how much AQI has caused. So then when we are facing severe pollution, water scarcity, then weakening the Aravalli range could trigger an environment disaster for the environment region. Over to you, Uday.
Okay, let me get in Kavita Ashok, environmentalist. I believe she's also joined the broadcast now. Kavita, what do you make of this Supreme Court order, and what is your fear of what its ramifications and impact could be?
Thank you, Uday. I feel Aravalli serves as a barrier firstly for the pollution, the dust which comes from the Thar desert flowing towards Delhi and the neighboring states. So when you are, thinking of doing mining or, messing with the hills of Aravalli, you are not only removing that barrier, the natural, that Prakritic barrier that we have, you're also going to disturb the biodiversity of the area, the flora, fauna, wildlife, and the water level. and also the playing with the health of the people. So, and I guess this has the some short-sighted politicians are in past not raising any voice for it. There must be some vested interest of particular corporates. I don't know who, but it seems like a very planned out a step, but it is absolutely anti-environment, and I am amazed that why in the parliament is no one speaking up about it. I am at present in Rajasthan itself, and people here, I mean, people who are interested in environment are very shocked as to why such a order has been passed by the Supreme Court. So I guess we need to review this. We need to understand that for economic growth, you cannot just keep messing with everything that is on planet Earth, whether it is a river or a mountain or a stream or sea. I don't know what we are doing. We are just messing up everything. So I think this needs a review, and I also appeal to the NGT to step in. Maybe that might just help us.
What you're clearly saying is that you believe that because this is sort of this barrier for the dust, and
Yes.
it's also something that could further affect the AQI of Delhi, Kavita. Is that your fear as well?
Absolutely, yes. I'm very fearful because see, look at the AQI, and as it is, Delhi is a gas chamber now, and so is the NCR area. So once we are removing this, the 100-meter hills and all that kind, whatever the details of everybody's familiar now with the Supreme Court's order. So I guess you're also inviting more trouble because it's only going to add more dust storms from the Thar Desert, and they will just head north, and it's going to create more chaos. Our AQI is going to shoot up even more than ever. So how are you going to stop that? Because as it is, Delhi is unable. We are a failure in handling our air pollution problem because we don't speak up to Haryana, we don't speak up to Punjab, and now thirdly, we will not be able to speak up to Rajasthan also because we are messing with the Aravalli range. And I don't know where this came from, but it is very sad that another major, natural mountain or the range is being messed up with. So I'm really very, very sad about it. Yeah.
Yes. Ashwini Dubey, now as far as, of course, this particular order is concerned, it has evoked a lot of outrage. But what was the legal justification given while the learned judges were passing this order? You've obviously read the order, the judgment in detail. What was the basis of their judgment?
See, the judgment was basically the new definition where the recommendations made by committee and of the government of India, this Union Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has given a report, and that report or the recommendations were accepted by the Honorable Supreme Court, and that was the basis of passing this order. So, and Supreme Court has already asked the committee to have a complete study with respect to the Aravalli Hills, and also what would be the impact if permissions or redefinitions are done, and then recommendations were made. And of course, those recommendations, as I said earlier, that those recommendations are not conducive to the environment of the Delhi and NCR region. Even the Supreme Court should not have accepted those recommendations. So that it is not the Supreme Court's own order, the committee which gave recommendation. So duty lies on the Union Ministry of Environment and Forest when it is asked to have an impact and study report to have to look into the other factors. Because in any case, human life is more important than any other thing. Destroying the natural resources, and that to a place like the Aravalli Hills, this is a natural wind regulator, and also which is filtering the lungs for Delhi, which is already worsening, which is a critically polluted zone where the air pollution is deadly. And then losing this natural shade will significantly worsen air quality in Delhi and NCR, leading to increased respiratory illness. Asthma, bronchitis, and other health problems are already in Delhi. We have already seen the gas chambers. We are smoking the cigarettes, 80, 90 cigarettes in a day, like the situation which is there. And therefore, taking this decision and not considering the biodiversity, not considering the hundreds of bird species and endangered, like leopards, hens, jackals, and the destruction of their habitat
forces wildlife into human settlements, increasing human wildlife, definitely will create a problem. So loss of vegetation cover, changes in topography, which will impact local rainfall patterns, moderate wind velocity, and contribute to increased heat stress and extreme weather events throughout northwest India. So that must be looked into, re-looked into, and if not the Supreme Court, then the Parliament should take a decision. Over to you.
Yes. Okay. Let's leave it at that. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion. It's time for a very short break.